There are many different ways that people use to form the nigiri. So I want to make sure that the ball of rice is formed first, but gently. When I put it in, I want to form the fish on very gently on top of the rice. So I use this part of my hand here and my fingers just very gently to press that way. I got into sushi almost by mistake. I like to say serendipitously. I applied at a sushi bar as a server, which is what I had been doing right after high school. They needed a sushi chef, so they offered to start my training, and I was very lucky that there was an older Japanese gentleman there who kind of took me under his wing and began my training. When people come in to eat sushi, what they see is the tip of the iceberg. That's why everything looks like magic, because we've prepared everything before that to look very easy during service. It looks seamless. And I think that there is this kind of appearance of magic with sushi, but that's why, because we spend hours before the customers come in getting everything ready. We want the customer's experience to be a very clean looking experience, and so we want to make sure that everything is perfectly ready for you when you come in.
We're gonna show how it's dirty.
We're gonna show the dirt. Yeah.
We're gonna show the blood on the table.
I would say I had been doing sushi. A good 8 years before I even cut a fish. This sayori is also called a needlefish or half beak because the mouth opens big from the bottom, but then it's really little on the top, so it's like kind of a half mouth. These are the skills that we have set ourselves up for by practicing all of the basics to get to these kind of things, cutting exotic fish or fish that don't fall into regular anatomical structures that most fish have. And that's why we do all of these things in preparation for that. So it's important to continue those preparatory skills even when you get to the point where you are cutting those more exotic things. Being fully trained as a sushi chef now is much more rare than, say, 20 years ago, I think. Going back to basics is very, very important in sushi because now we're seeing kind of this flip-flop of training, and it leaves sushi chefs with a lot of blank spots in their abilities, and it's difficult, I think, now to find sushi chefs who have a full set of training. Sushi training now tends to be very backward, where people, they either learn how to make sushi first, and then they kind of go back and fill in the rest of it, or they really want to do the cool stuff, which is to cut the exotic fish or whatever, and they kind of feel like, vegetable prep maybe is kind of tedious or boring. I wouldn't say that the vegetable prep is necessarily more difficult than the fish prep, but I would say that a lot of the things you learn in prepping the vegetables for sushi sets you up for the type of cuts that you need to make when you're either filleting or you're cutting fish later on. And so it's really important to do those things first, especially on something like a cucumber or something instead of a fish that's very, very expensive. So in sushi traditionally, I think you spend a couple of years on the rice, but in sushi training now, we don't see that. In a lot of sushi restaurants, actually, the sushi chefs don't make the rice anymore, which is too bad.
What would be the proper preparation for the rice? So what's the most difficult?
Probably the water ratio. The water has kombu and sake in it, and depending on the weather outside, we usually go between 81 to 85% water to rice by weight. If it's really rainy or if it's really dry, we adjust the water based on how we feel about the weather. You always want the rice to be consistent, so that's why depending on what the weather or the humidity is like, the temperature, we adjust the water ratio so that the idea is that the rice comes out the same every single day, every single season during the year. It's a tiny bit of science and mostly just kind of experience and feeling about it. This is the first knife that I ever bought in Japan. It's an ajikiri. It's used for breaking down small fish. Aideba is used for breaking down fish, but as I said, it's a little bit longer and a little bit more narrow than a regular deba. This style of usuba is used in the Kansai region, traditionally. This is called a miyoroshi deba or a yanagi deba. So this is also a deba, but it's even more narrow and more straight than the aideba. This is actually the only double bevel knife that I use, and this one was made by Kurosaki-san in Echizen Japan. For me, I think there's a certain amount of beauty in all of it. You know, the prep, even the fish guts and the blood on my cutting board. This is our last item. Thank you for joining us.